After contemplating the $3 million inheritance, I made a significant choice to split it between my mother and myself. This decision arose shortly after my father's funeral. While perusing the inheritance documents, Jack, without seeking permission, cautioned me against being too greedy. Thoughts raced through my mind. Now I could finally leave my job. Gratitude towards my deceased father flooded my thoughts, albeit tinged with frustration at his hesitance. Ignoring my confusion, I blurted out a retort, inadvertently revealing Jack's jab at my father. Amidst discussions between Jack and my mother-in-law about purchasing a new car and indulging in shopping sprees, I struggled to contain my emotions. The unexpected turn of events left me reeling. Overwhelmed, I dared to request financial assistance with household chores, only to be met with insults directed at my father. Living with Jack and my mother-in-law seemed unbearable at that moment. Suppressing my anger, I forced a smile and acquiesced to their plans. I am Kelly Cohan, a 38-year-old housewife, and I work alongside my husband. My parents, both doctors, ran a reputable clinic in our hometown. As an only child, I was showered with love. Despite their initial disappointment at my career choice in pharmacy, they respected my decision. Tragedy struck when my mother passed away unexpectedly in an accident, leaving me and my father devastated. During those dark times, Jack, then my boyfriend, provided unwavering support. Despite being an ordinary salaryman in the food and beverage industry, I believed our love could conquer any obstacle. My father's approval of our relationship filled me with joy. However, during a visit to Jack's family home to announce our engagement, his mother's disparaging remarks about me being an older and plain choice for Jack stung. Jack's swift defense of my character focused more on financial stability than on my qualities. His mother's approval hinged on this revelation. Despite the rocky start, Jack was overjoyed after gaining his mother's acceptance of our marriage. However, despite the smooth path towards our decision to marry, a lingering sense of unease nagged at me. As we prepared to register our marriage, my father, a doctor and real estate investor, surprised me with an apartment in a luxury building in New York City. I excitedly shared the news with Jack, emphasizing that this was not just a gift from my father, but our new home where we could build a life together in happiness and peace. Jack's delighted smile marked the beginning of our married life. Yet, once married, I began to notice unsettling patterns. Jack, who had lived with his parents until then, seemed almost incapable of household chores. Cooking, operating the washing machine, or even basic cleanliness eluded him. Despite my desire to share responsibilities evenly, Jack's indifference only fueled my dissatisfaction. In our first year of marriage, I shouldered the burden alone, excusing it as part of the honeymoon phase. However, by the second year, overwhelmed by work and household duties, I reached a breaking point. Summoning courage, I confronted Jack about sharing responsibilities, only to be met with dismissive responses. He claimed fatigue from work and admitted to being inept at chores, leaving me to handle them without gratitude or reflection. Despite my efforts, Jack hardly lifted a finger around the house, leaving me to bear the brunt of the workload. But that wasn't the only challenge. Marrying Jack also brought to light his mother's peculiar expectations. Attempting to honor her on Mother's Day with a quality scarf and carnations, I faced her disapproval. She criticized the gift, deeming it unworthy of her standards. Despite my attempts to explain, she remained adamant, insisting on items from renowned luxury brands. Disheartened, I confided in Jack, hoping for support. Instead, he brushed off her demands, instructing me to comply. Consequently, we began offering her cash as she demanded, further straining our relationship. Moreover, as our 5th year of marriage approached, my mother-in-law's visits became more frequent, often coinciding with requests for money. Despite my job, Jack's modest income strained our finances, leaving us barely afloat. Desperation drove me to dip into our savings to ease the burden, even though I harbored frustrations. Yet, understanding Jack's bond with his mother, I persevered, reminding myself of her support during difficult times. In our 8th year of marriage, little had changed. I continued to shoulder all household responsibilities while providing for my mother-in-law. Then, amidst this routine, an unexpected call from my father shattered the fragile equilibrium. Revealing his terminal cancer diagnosis, he urged acceptance of fate. Tears streamed down my face as he gently comforted me, prompting a flood of questions about his own acceptance. Balancing work, household chores, and visits to my father's hospital bed became an intricate dance. While my job offered some flexibility, managing the household proved challenging. When I informed Jack of my intention to care for my father, his response was detached, merely acknowledging the difficulty of the situation. His solitary visit to the hospital mirrored his distant demeanor, leaving me consumed with my father's needs, with little room to consider Jack's. If there was any time to spare, it rightfully belonged to my father. One day, as my father lay in his hospital bed, he unexpectedly inquired about my marriage with Jack. Caught off guard by the question, I couldn't help but ponder Jack's behavior at home and his mother's conduct. My hesitation did not go unnoticed by my father, who offered comforting words, assuring me that I need not endure any hardships and urged me to prioritize my own happiness. Overwhelmed by emotion, tears welled in my eyes, and my father silently but firmly clasped my hand. 3 months later, the inevitable moment arrived, and my father passed away, leaving me engulfed in profound sorrow. Amidst arranging the funeral, Jack displayed no interest in my grief and offered no assistance with the preparations. Despite his indifference, I was too preoccupied with the funeral arrangements to pay much attention to him. The funeral drew many friends and acquaintances, transforming it into a heartfelt farewell, even attended by the seemingly detached Jack and his mother. The day after the funeral, I received a call from a lawyer regarding my father's inheritance. After arranging a meeting and listening to the explanation, I was stunned by the revelation. Despite deductions such as inheritance tax, my father's estate amounted to over $3 million, amassed from his earnings as a doctor and real estate investments. To my astonishment and gratitude, all of it was to be inherited by me, his only daughter. Wrapped in a mix of surprise and apprehension at the prospect of handling such a substantial sum, I proceeded with the inheritance process. Upon returning home, I laid out the documents received from the lawyer on my desk and began reading through them. Exhaustion soon overwhelmed me, and I drifted off to sleep on the sofa for a brief respite. Upon awakening, I heard cheerful voices in the distance, realizing that Jack and his mother had arrived. Confused by Jack's sudden enthusiasm, I noticed him holding the inheritance papers I had left on the desk. Shocked and angered by his intrusion, I confronted him for rifling through the documents without permission. However, my mother-in-law, unfazed, cheerfully interjected, "Wow, an inheritance of $3 million. Isn't that amazing? Now we can live comfortably for the rest of our lives." Perplexed by her sudden enthusiasm, I couldn't comprehend her words. Jack's demeanor shifted, and he adopted a more serious tone as he continued. "By the way, about this $3 million inheritance, I've decided it will be split between me and my mom." It was right after my father's funeral. Jack, having perused the inheritance documents meant for me without permission, remarked, "Kelly, don't be too greedy. Now I can finally quit my job. I have to thank that doddering old man." Startled, I inadvertently blurted out, "Doddering old man? Are you talking about my dad?" Ignoring my confusion, Jack and my mother-in-law excitedly discussed plans of buying a new car and indulging in shopping sprees. Unable to contain my emotions any longer, I reached my breaking point. Burdened with household chores and insulted by their disregard for my father, I mustered a forced smile and acquiesced to their plans. My mother-in-law, seemingly satisfied, cheerfully remarked, "That's the spirit, Kelly," quick to agree. "Now make sure you work hard and earn money. I don't want our savings to decrease, so work hard." Subsequently, Jack and my mother-in-law began living extravagantly, almost recklessly, as if they had lost their senses. Jack quit his job hastily, and my mother-in-law practically moved in with us. leaving me to handle all the household chores. They indulged in lavish spending, draining our joint account and my personal savings rapidly. When I protested their excessive expenditures, Jack dismissed my concerns, claiming that with $3 million on the horizon, such spending was insignificant. Fed up, I issued a stern warning. I've already put a stop to it. But Jack completely ignored me. Then, a month later, Jack and my mother-in-law suddenly left for a trip to Hawaii without inviting me, leaving me alone at home. After seeing them off, I decided to take action. About a week later, while relaxing at home, I heard a loud knock on the door. Wondering what was happening, I glanced at the intercom monitor and saw Jack and my mother-in-law, both dressed in aloha shirts, standing at the front door. "What do you want?" I asked calmly and coldly, my anger palpable. Jack yelled back, "What are you even talking about? Why won't the door open?" Seeing them confused, I confidently answered through the intercom, "Well, I changed the locks on the door, so of course it won't open." "What? Why?" Jack exclaimed. "Let's talk over this calmly at the nearby cafe. Please go ahead." "I'll join you shortly," I suggested. After some futile shouting in front of the entrance, Jack and his mother headed to the cafe. Once I confirmed they had left, I made my way to the cafe. Upon arrival, I saw Jack and his mother, who had arrived earlier, waiting in a state of fury. "Hey, what's this about? Did you change the locks?" "Hand over the new keys right now," Jack demanded. "There's no need for me to give you the new keys. You both need to leave that house," I calmly told them, facing Jack's visible anger. I presented a piece of paper. It was a divorce petition I had already filled out. "Divorce? You're serious about divorcing me?" His mother was equally shocked and bewildered. "Why has it come to this?" she asked quietly, panicked and flustered. "By the way, you've been spending lavishly every day. Are you sure your finances are okay?" I questioned calmly. "What money?" "Of course, it's fine," Jack retorted vehemently. "Your father's inheritance is coming, right? There should still be over $50,000 in our joint account." "Look, I'll show you right now," Jack said, taking out his smartphone and opening the banking app to check the account. But his expression changed abruptly. "What? What's this? Why is the money gone?" "It was there just the other day," Jack exclaimed, his face turning to anger. Hearing his words, his mother also hurriedly checked her phone, her face showing confusion. I revealed the truth to them as they panicked, not understanding the situation. "Of course, it's gone. I'm divorcing you." So I moved the $50,000 to my account as part of the property division. I explained calmly. "What do you mean?" Jack's face turned to anger for a moment, but then he smirked, as if remembering something. "Fine, I'll divorce you, then transfer the inheritance you got from your dad right away. After all, property acquired during the marriage is split half and half in a divorce, right?" "Well, you might be misunderstanding something," I replied calmly. "Why didn't you know?" "The inheritance I received, even though it was during our marriage, doesn't count for property division." There was a moment of silence between us. Then Jack and his mother's expressions changed drastically. Perhaps they truly believed they would receive part of my inheritance. I was just astonished and could only sigh in disbelief. "No, that can't be true. That's impossible." His mother's face turned red with a mix of denial and anger. "Please, check for yourself," I said mockingly. Jack started frantically searching on his smartphone. "It says here, property inherited by one spouse from a parent is considered separate property. Therefore, it's not subject to division and can't be split between the spouses." Seriously. His mother too looked at the screen in shock. Then Jack approached me, pleading desperately. "Kelly, please don't divorce me. I have no savings and no job. How am I supposed to live if you divorce me?" Faced with Jack's pleading, I spoke to him clearly and firmly. "What are you talking about? Take responsibility for your actions. I will never forget how you both treated me. I'm divorcing you. I'll go to court if I have to." Intimidated by my fierce demeanor, which they had never seen before, Jack and his mother shrunk back in fear, whimpering softly. Leaving the two of them dejected, I walked out of the cafe. Later on, Jack and I were able to go through the divorce proceedings without any issues. The $50,000 I had moved from our joint account was recognized as part of the marital property division. Eventually, I managed to get Jack and his mother out of my house. Jack, having already squandered the money from the property division, found himself penniless. Furthermore, he was overwhelmed with bills from the overseas trip and other expenses he had paid for with his credit card. Quickly sinking into debt, Jack and his mother had to take on even more debt to make these payments, and they now live in a rundown apartment, working tirelessly every day to pay off their debts. The stark contrast to their former lavish lifestyle has been a huge shock for them. On the other hand, I sold a condo I used to share with Jack. Then, I moved into the apartment that used to belong to my father. I continue to work as before, but with the inheritance I received from my father, I am living a comfortable life financially. With gratitude to my late father in my heart, I want to start anew and cherish my life ahead. I aim to protect my happiness and spend my days peacefully.